Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and in today's video we're going to have a couple of games courtesy of My Name is Puffs, looking at tier 5 tanks that you just don't see very much. We're kicking off proceedings with the Turan 3 prototype here. This is, strictly speaking, I believe a Hungarian machine, or a Hungarian design I should say. I don't think any of these were made, but I'm sure someone will correct me if I am mistaken. And you just don't see this thing very much, so what is it that you get with the Turan here? Well, basically, you get a Panzer IV, the tier 5 German medium tank, equipped with the L48 long 75mm gun. So, 110 alpha damage and 110 penetration with its bog standard AP rounds. Oh, sorry, the penetration's 113, because that makes so much difference. On a kind of sluggish platform, and this is also quite a tall tank, in case you hadn't noticed. And, well, until they buffed up all the ammo capacities of all the sort of mid-tier tanks because they gave them all more hit points, you also used to get very poor ammunition count with this gun. So, I mean, to be fair, now that you've got a little more ammo to work with, I don't know, I haven't played this thing in a while, maybe that makes it a little bit more viable. Although, again, people have more hit points as well these days. But the low ammunition count in particular, I found just used to cripple this thing. Also, I mean, you can see, like, this 75mm gun, it's not great. It's a gun that could fairly generously be described as mediocre. It's not particularly good. So, the only thing to really like about the Turan is the 10 degrees of gun depression. But that's of limited use when, I believe it's 10 degrees. It's pretty good gun depression if I've got the exact number wrong. Again, I haven't played this thing in a while. But, I mean, that's of limited use when, you know, your gun's kind of, yeah, and your mobility's your armour's and it's all just a little bit disappointing. That was a nice shot. A little bit lucky to get that one to hit. With premium ammunition, your penetration goes up to 160, which is fine, I guess. But yeah, this thing is just a big fat can of disappointment, if we're going to be honest. And of course, being a premium tank, you actually have to pay money for this thing. I don't recommend any of you do it, by the way. If you're interested in a German premium medium tank, because of course whilst this is a Hungarian machine, there are no Hungarian tanks in the game, or rephrase, there isn't a Hungarian tech tree in the game, so we find it here in the German tech tree. If any of you want a tier 5 medium premium tank, well, not necessarily tier 5, but if you want a German premium medium tank to train your German tank crews, there are plenty of other choices. At tier 5 you have the Skoda T25. Tier 7 you've got the Panther M10, which I think is a criminally underrated tank, I'll be honest. At tier 6 you've got the Panzer IVS, although that thing hasn't really been on sale in a while. And that's just naming a few. If you go to tier 8, like, you got loads of them. Anyway, while I've been wittering on, Puffs has been killing things. This is an all tier 5 match. So, just tier 5 tanks, no tier 4s to shoot at, and no tier 7s or 6s to shoot at, which, you know, I guess that can work to your favour sometimes. And Puffs has just spent his time over on this far side of, I can never remember the name of this map. This is, of course, Kharkov. Oh, hello, VK. Yeah, your 50mm of armour is bouncing us pretty reliably at this range, which is disappointing. And so let's switch to the APCR because this gun sucks. Anyway, so yeah, here on Kharkov, Puffs has come over to this western side of the map, over on the 1 line, which is pretty common for light and medium tanks to do, as over here you can have a pretty decent fight, especially if you've got some respectable gun depression. You can use this sort of, or these positions over here, get yourself hulled down, play peekaboo with people, get some spotting, and Puffs has racked up over 300 assistance damage so far, and 900 of his own damage, so yeah, you can definitely make a position work. And do you remember I mentioned that the ammunition capacity on this thing is rather shoddy? even after the ammunition capacity has been buffed. You'll notice Puffs is down to 9 rounds of armor piercing, 6 of APCR and 2 of HE, and he's done 900 damage. And this isn't a tier 7 match, or anything like that, where it's going to be more difficult to penetrate your targets. This is all tier 5s. So ammunition is still a problem. Oh, hello, 60 GFT. Unnecessary APCR round into the butt there. I would have switched to AP because frankly these APCR rounds are valuable. There's still a BDR to deal with at some point. Again, I would be switching to AP here rather than wasting the APCR. Puffs loads a HE round. I can certainly see the logic, and it works out. 172 yet there, sorry. And the second HE round kills him. Though that was perhaps a little risky. 8 rounds of armor piercing left. 6. Tracked him. This is artillery, remember. 4. 3. One more shot to kill this artillery. There we go. 3 rounds of ammo remaining. Thankfully, there's only 2 enemy tanks left. Hurrah. And it looks like the friendly team should be able to polish this off. But you can see how the ammunition capacity really does hold this thing back. It just doesn't have the ammunition to necessarily get itself through longer games. I mean, this wasn't an especially long game. Okay, a couple of Puff's shots could have been aimed better, I grant you, but even so, didn't think they were particularly dubious. Actually picking up the kill there on the BDR. And that's the match. Fairly quick one for you, but like I said, you don't really see the Tyrann 3 very much, so I thought it was nice to show you that. Slightly frustratingly, perhaps, Puffs did manage to pick up the last kill of that game with his second to last round of ammunition, so almost a Fade-Ins medal, but not quite. Might not have been a Fade-Ins medal, but was still a pretty nice game there. Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Duelist, Fighter, Fire for Effect, Pascucci's and a high caliber there. Very nicely done. 2054 damage. Puffs did get a little bit of damage blind there, if you remember. I can think of some blind damage on the French artillery piece, for example. 5 kills, 1268 base experience, which is pretty nice for a tier 5 machine. Commiserations to the enemy BDR. 1400 damage is a very respectable amount from a tier 5, but just not enough for that particular game. 38 shots fired, 28 hits, 20 penetrations, and Puff's gunnery wasn't appalling. That gun is not very accurate. Shots taken at mid to long range, you shouldn't expect to penetrate. Yeah, just over 2000 damage done, like I said. 680 from more than 300 metres, 3 hits received, 2 penned, 1 did not. Some splash damage in there as well. 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 2 destroyed. 504 assistance damage and just under 2 kilometres travelled. With a premium account, Puff still made a respectable profit there, but it's probably worth pointing out that because Puff's burned through basically all of his ammunition, that of course included all of his APCR, which I would recommend you take on that tank because you don't want to be bouncing AP off of people all day long because you'll run out of ammo. So, if he wasn't running a premium account, and if he wasn't running a personal reserve at the time, even from a game that good, he would have only made about 5,000, 4,000 credit profit. Which is a little bit of a shame, but you know, it is what it is. This is not a particularly economical vehicle to run. And it's not a particularly good one, and not one I recommend. But there we go, we've at least seen some gameplay from it. So, let's have a look and see what Puffs has got for us in the second game. Here we go with our second match then, and we'll see if this time I can do this without being interrupted by Toddler. So, Puffs here is in the Cavalier. This is the tier 5 British medium tank. And it seems to be, I haven't actually played this, but it seems to be a sort of Cromwell light, which I guess you should expect, given that the Cavalier, the Cromwell and the Centaur are all essentially the same tank. Yes, I know there are some differences, but they're basically the same. Now, in-game, this thing seems to get an option of 2 guns. You've got the 6-pounder that is used on far too many mid-tier British tanks. It's got like 110 penetration, 85 alpha damage or something like that, good rate of fire, and prem penetration of 180. Or you have this derp gun. This is the 3.7-inch howitzer. Now, when you compare the British lower to mid-tier howitzers with some of their counterparts from other nations, the one thing you have to bear in mind is the shell velocity is atrocious. 243 meters per second is awful even for a howitzer. You essentially give the shell to Royal Mail, ask for it to be posted second class, and then inevitably it turns up 3 weeks later because yay for Royal Mail. Or of course it doesn't turn up at all. And so if you're taking shots at long range, if the enemy has dared to actually, move in the intervening 6 months since you fired the shot, there's a very good chance your shell isn't going to hit. Even at close range, the shell travel time is noticeable. Now this gun is also used, or it used to be used, I think it's probably different now, used to be used on the Cruiser 2, I think it was a tier 3 light tank, and what you essentially got was, look at that shell, you got a mini KV2 at tier 3, which was kind of funny. But we're not there, we're here on the Cavalier at tier 5. So a couple of speculative shots there. Just for record, by the way, you've got 280 alpha damage and 110 penetration with the heat rounds, and with the HE you got 47 pen and 370 alpha damage. So as far as the damage numbers and penetration numbers are concerned, it's broadly consistent with the 105mm guns, howitzers that you get on other sort of mid-tier allied tanks, even though this is a 94mm gun. But hey, go figure. Now, Puffs is running binos here, so he spotted these guys out at long range. Does actually, by the look of it, oh, that shell misses. But the guy moves after he fired the gun. Does actually look like the Cavalier has respectable gun depression, which shouldn't come as a huge surprise. I think the Cromwell's packing something like 8 degrees. Look at that shell go. Oh, good lord. But Puffs hasn't been spotted here yet, and that Stug is a little optimistic. Oh, doesn't penetrate, but still 146 damage. Now, a Stug on the move has appalling... That was never going to hit. You need to give that more lead. Appalling view range. Come on. Can we hit the Matilda? Yes. But we do know physical damage. It just damages the track. Spot an American tank destroyer there. That shot just plain misses. Puffs still not get... Oh, Puffs just gets spotted there, as the Stug, I assume it was, got close enough to actually spot him. But if you're running binos at these mid-tiers, you can get some pretty tasty view range, and your opponents are going to struggle to get view range back on you, especially as they're moving, or if they're moving, because in that case, they won't have binos up. And so, yeah, they're going to really struggle for view range. Switching to heat ammunition here, which, well, I think that was a little optimistic, shall we say. Like I mentioned, you've got 110 penetration with this gun, which can go through the front of a Matilda fine. The front of a Matilda is like 75, 80mm thick, though angled and sloped in places. But the thing is, because you can't aim the shell really carefully at that sort of range... oh, that was a lovely shot. I think that was a bit dicey. Then again, these HE shells had not really been doing the business against the Matilda, so I can understand Puff switching to heat, and it worked out for him in the end. Now, scoreline is 4-6. This is not looking particularly friendly for the, well, friendly team. Puffs has done 510 damage himself, 176 assistance, and taken 1 hit in return, so Puffs has done alright for himself. But this isn't exactly a game-winning performance thus far. He's just working out what he wants to do here, as the friendly team lose another tank destroyer. No, sorry, that was a light tank, my apologies. Killed by a tank destroyer. He's trying to get shots on that American TD, but that's just not going to work, and the friendly team have lost. Another tank... No, sorry, it was a tank destroyer they lost, and then another tank destroyer. So the enemy Chaffee appears to be on a bit of a spree. M8A1 looks like he's going to deal with the VK, although he dies in return. Scoreline is 5-9. Now, Puffs looks like he's going to go for some of these backline units, and interestingly, the Cavalier here doesn't have quite the same mobility as the Cromwell. So essentially, if memory serves, I think it's the... So there's the Cavalier, the Cromwell and the Centaur. If memory serves, I think it's the Cavalier gets the worse engine. This is historically. The Cromwell had an upgraded engine, a more powerful engine, and the Cavalier, sorry, the Centaur was basically the same as the Cromwell, pretty much. Oh, that's a very unlucky Chaffee. He picked up a couple of kills, then managed to get himself on his side, and unfortunately that HE shell that almost certainly would have penetrated that tank misses, but Puffs is able to pick up the kill with the second shot taken blind there. Scoreline is 6-10, and he has taken a hit from artillery in the proceedings, which is a bit awkward. But we'll see what Puffs can do here. So it's not as if the Cavalier here is an especially fast tank, which is kind of disappointing, because the regular, let's say the Sherman, either flavour of Sherman, whether you're talking American or the British Shermans, those things pack a 105mm gun, which is kind of similar to this gun, but with better shell velocity. And they have good gun depression, and they actually have a little bit of armour. Now, it's not armour that's particularly reliable or anything, but it will come to your aid. I would be moving Puffs, there's artillery, but it will come to your aid occasionally, and it should be more often than the armour, on this tank, which is not very good. So, I'm kind of struggling to see why one might choose to play the Cavalier when the Shermans are an option, really. It's not as if the Cavalier has the mobility advantage, or not a significant mobility advantage anyway. Regardless. By all means, let me know what you think of the Cavalier if you've played it. Puffs watches this at some point, which he likely will. By all means, let me know your opinion of the Cavalier. The general consensus, as far as I can work out, seems to be a big fat can of eh. Ooh, that's an unlucky tank destroyer, but, well, he was moving. And leading shots with this gun is difficult. Oh, and he moved again. He had time to turn around completely to a 180, drive the other way. Anyway, get some assistance damage, to be fair, against that guy. And shout out, by the way, to the Muppets in his overpowered Tier 5 French SPG, picking up 5 kills so far there. Lovely one shot on the M41 HMC. Ooh. Penetration on the enemy Lux, that's given him a bad day, and the Lux is moving, but I'm pretty sure Puffs could spot out the AMX again, assuming he hasn't gone down into the dip. Oh, Puffs is spotted, might want to be somewhere else. There's the enemy BT7, and this if you don't like seeing small tanks get damaged and hideously wrecked, then it's fine, because apparently the guy will no longer be spotted because reasons, but he did take a lot of damage. So, BT7 coming up behind Puffs here. It's 3 tanks plays 3. This could still go either way. Although Puffs is in a tier 5, the enemy don't have a regular tier 5 tank left, they just have an artillery. Puffs can take one hit here if he needs to, but he doesn't need to. He just puts a HE shell straight through the face of that tier 3 light tank and picks up the kill. Going hunting now. We know the Lux is a one-shot. You could sneeze on that guy and he'd die. The artillery has given his position away by, firing the gun, but Puffs cannot get a shot on him, so can't take advantage. And the enemy Lux is over by the friendly artillery, and the Muppets defends himself and blats that Lux in the face. This just leaves the AMX 13am. And things are not looking good for him. Really, I was about to say Puffs doesn't even need to engage this guy. He can just spot the AMX and friendly artillery can finish off the guy and pick up his Radley Walters medal, but denied as the enemy artillery actually picks up the friendly artillery there. Puffs takes the shot, but isn't able to make it connect. And this artillery is trying it. Oh no! Puff's shot doesn't actually penetrate. Oh, that could have gone badly wrong, and Puffs manages to pick up the kill in style there with a ram at the end. And that's the match! Oh dear, Tier 5 can get funky sometimes. Let's have a look at the post-game stats. Well, there we go. That was enough for an Ace Tanker, Bruiser, Fighter, Fire for Effect, Pascucci's medal there for some artillery kills, and of course, crucial contribution for that cheeky little platoon with the friendly artillery player. Very nice game there indeed. Puffs managed to finish top of his team by experience with 2,284 damage. Although we only saw 15 or 1,600 damage in game, you have to remember 2 shots, if memory serves, at least 2 shots there did damage without us physically seeing the damage done. So that makes up the difference. 5 kills, not quite enough for a top gun, but still a very nice amount to have, and 1,264 base experience for Puffs. Top of the team by damage done was actually the Muppets in his hideously overpowered that tier 5 French artillery piece, and even though he died, he still managed 2,756 damage, which is a lot at tier 5, and 7 kills, and 1,113 base experience, which is a lot for artillery. Whew. On the enemy team, shoutouts and commiserations to that AMX at the end. Almost 2,000 damage and 3 kills from him in an artillery piece. Very nicely done. He made a good fight of it, but just not quite enough there. 27 shots fired, which is unusual with a howitzer. 10 hits, 6 penetrations for that damage count, most of which, unsurprisingly, was from pretty close range. 3 hits received, 1 technically didn't penetrate, 55 damage blocked by his armour. That sounds like a 40 or 47, 45, whatever, a low caliber gun. So the armour is not something on this tank that you should really expect to do a great deal of much. 6 enemy vehicles spotted, 7 damaged, 5 destroyed, 764 assistance damage, 3.33 kilometers travelled, and a profit there of 37,500 credits. Would have been 21,000 credits even with a standard account. Nice game there all round from Puffs. So there we go, couple of tier 5 matches for you there, or a couple of tier 5 tanks. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, by all means, feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel. If you wish to submit your own replays, you can do by uploading them to whatreplays.com and then copying the URL and putting it in Discord, which I will try and put a link to in the video description. My apologies, by the way, that I haven't been on Discord much lately. My time is fleeting. And I have actually gotten back into playing 40k, which has involved painting a lot of stuff, which has also been taking up what spare time I do have. So, there we go. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.